Hey guys, welcome back from Classic Work. I've had tons and tons of comments asking, hey, when are you going to get back on the old bulldozer? And yeah, we're finally there. So in this series, or this video, I'm going to show just building the motor, I think. Putting it in, everything like that will be a different time, but it'll give me a good kick in the pants to hurry up and get this thing back together, because I've been needing it for a while. Now I really need it. So that's, you know how it goes. Anyways, if you are a fan of the channel, you'll remember when we fixed the crack in the block right here using the lock stitch process. I had to get a new head for it. The old head, I don't know if y'all remember, it had some pitting in number 2 cylinder. The head is actually in the back of my pickup, but they did a block or a crack check on it, and all this in here was screwed up, so I had to get a used head for it. This one here has been worked. Got brand new valves and springs, and it's been pressure checked. It's got no cracks in it, so she should be ready to rip. The block, the crank was burnt. We were going to get it turned, then my machinist was dragging his feet on all that, so I wound up getting a new crank. If I'm going to go ahead and build it this far, might as well go the whole 9 yards. So got a new crank for it. And if y'all will remember, the camshaft bearing out here on the very end towards the gear drive right here, it had tore up the bearing, and this is it. Of course, I've skinned it up a little bit trying to get it out, but I mean it was toast before that. I don't know if you can see some of that where it just, I mean, it ripped it to pieces. So I'm surprised this thing had any kind of oil pressure. But anyways, we're going to replace the cam bearings. So I've found a set on the internet. This is the new one, and these, I may have mentioned this in a previous video, the noise diesels of International had honed bearings in them for the camshaft bearings. And so what you have to do is you have to put them in, then you have to have them line honed to make sure the camshaft fits. From what I've been told, these are drive-in fit cam bearings, so I should be able just to put that in there, and then I'll put the camshaft in there and check it and make sure that that is correct, and then we can go about installing the rest of them. But yes, that's going to be a good deal if it's going to be that easy, so I don't have to line hone it is what I'm getting at. That'd be fantastic if I don't have to do that. So I'm going to get the rest of the bearings out, and then I'm going to show putting them in, so should be good. Stay tuned. Okay, I've got the push rod cover taken off. The motor's upside down right now, if you can't tell. So this is where your tappets ride. They go against your camshaft. So I've got all the cam bearings out, and this is a new cam bearing. Now what's critical is you've got to line these oil holes up, these guys right here, with the holes that are in the block. If you don't do that, you'll burn your camshaft out. So you got to be sure you do that. So I've got a cam bearing installer tool here, and the way this thing works is you take your cam bearing and you put it on, and then you tighten this guy up here. Well, for one, you got to have it on the shaft, but you tighten it up, and this little band right here squeezes the bearing tight so it doesn't skin it up when you're pushing them in. So you just got to be real sure that when you start in there that you're in the right clocked position. So the good thing about this motor is some of them, they're kind of like canted. They're like, you know, they're not straight up and down, but these are. So we should be good. I don't think they're straight down the middle too. Some of them you have to clock. So I'll put this one in here and just take a look at it and see what it's going to look like. And then we'll get the tools set up, and I'll get it all in there and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is the cam installer tool. It's got an extension on it too for going way deep in a motor, but I got the shortest one on there. And usually you have like a stud that screws in here so you can screw your other bar on there, but I've got a whacker bolt on here. So you just stick this in here, like so, and you put your cam bearing on. Alright. And then with a wrench, you tighten this bolt up and this will secure that to that. So once you get that tight, she won't move, and then you start it in the hole. And this little cone right here keeps you you press it up against the block and it self-centers it a little bit. So we got to get our holes right. I got to find a whacker. This is when you need like 3 hands. And I'm gonna give her a little love tap, see if it starts. Try again. Something don't feel right. Everything's good and tight, it just... Give her a little more persuasion. There it goes. Had to line up. You don't want to go too far. Let's pull that out and check it. So you have to loosen up your nut on this side. I'm good at grabbing the wrong wrench. Alright, let's pull her out. You want to check your hole alignment. Alright, I believe we nailed it. Yeah, it looks good. Let me bring y'all in to show you what I'm looking at. I don't know if you can see in there or not. See the oil? Trying to get my light just right. I nailed her on the top and the bottom. It's kind of hard to see. But I definitely hit the hole, if you know what I mean. So that's one end. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry fit the camshaft to make sure nothing shrank or anything. And then we'll put the other 3 in. And that's how you put cam bearings in on this type of motor. So let me take a dry fit. That's what I was afraid of. She's a little tight. Damn. Sure there ain't a burr or something on here. I feel a little one. Dress that burr down. If that's the case, this is going to be a pain in the ass. I hope not. Hope it's just a burr. again. Oh, look at, oh, we got it. It's gonna work. Had to get in there just right. Oh, that's gonna be beautiful, I think. Yeah, that feels good. All right, put the other ones in. Had me worried for a second. Good deal. All right, let me catch y'all up on some speed. You can tell the motor looks a good bit different now. I got the cam bearings pressed in. I kind of had trouble with one of them, but I got it so everything's working. Y'all saw that I had a pretty good fit on, I think it was this one that I tested it on. Got the lifters put in. I've gone ahead and put the jugs in, the pistons and all that. Everything's been torqued. Oil pan's back on, and the front timing cover. So, and the injection pump's on too, because I had to have it for the timing. But anyways, I should have covered more of that. Sorry I didn't, but I've got a video on building a 3-cylinder, if you look back in my old archives, for the Ford motor rebuild. So I didn't want to film a lot of the same stuff. Even though it's a different engine, it's a lot of the stuff is very similar. So anyways, I'm going to do a lot more on the detail, kind of little bitty pieces. You can tell that they had water in this motor. You can see the water line in there. So anyways, we've got to address this now. This piece broke off some time ago. I've got a really good idea to fix this. This is aluminum. I suggest bolting it to the actual motor instead of trying to weld it off of it for 2 reasons. One, you could warp this very easily. Having it mounted on there and giving it a solid mount, the warp is less likely. And 2, it's a lot easier to fool with when it's in its upright position like it is here. So that's my whole thing, and as long as we don't get it too hot, I think we'll be fine. But the other thing is, my new crankshaft that I got for this motor, the spacer ring is not on there. It's actually on the old crank, so we got to get this one off. So I'm gonna have to heat it up a little bit, and we'll bang it against that 2x6 right there, and hopefully it'll just fall off. So yeah, that ought to be good. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. Alright, I got it cleaned up a little bit. I had to go a little deeper than I wanted to, but I'm going to take this this TIG, or excuse me, this carbon gouge rod right here. We're going to use this to keep me from filling in the hole here. Since this is made out of graphite, it won't weld to it, but it should keep the integrity of the hole like we want it. It's not quite the right size, but it's going to do good enough, I believe. So I'm going to stick it about right in here somewhere, and then we'll weld it up. Alright, let me get y'all set up here. There you go. Top don't look too bad. A little bit of cleanup, make it look brand new. You can definitely tell. This is why you have to clean aluminum so well. You see all that pitting in there? That's just from a little. That was a good bit of dirt. I ain't gonna lie. But a little time with a grinder, and I'll fix this son gun right up. Should be able not be able to tell it. There you go. That's her all cleaned up. I left some reinforcement in there just because it was so thin it broke before, so it doesn't hurt anything. Got the hole drilled to the right size. So this one here, you can tell they all got a little slack in them, so it's about the same. So yeah, there you go. A little paint on there. Unless you were really looking, you couldn't tell. But yeah, she's sharp. But yeah, that's gonna fix that. I'm gonna put the spacer on there. She should be cool to the touch now. So yeah, we'll get her cleaned up and stab her on there. Oh, there's a little bit of rust on the inside of this guy, so clean her up just a touch. So what this does, this ring, there's two pins on it, and they locate the harmonic balancer that's on this motor. Since 3 cylinders are unbalanced, they gotta have a harmonic balance on them or they'll shake apart. I always found that interesting. Brake cleaner action. And there is an O-ring that goes on here as well. It's a recess for it. Grab the O-ring. I'm gonna grab a little oil and put on it. Alright, this little guy. Alright, so we need to find our detent, which is 180 down here on the bottom. Don't seem like that's enough to seat, but that's what it says it wants. Maybe that's enough. To be honest, I don't know what this seal is actually doing. Should put a little oil on that. Still got time to do it. Alright. Alright. That ought to do it. Should put a little more oil on there. Had to get some on from the inside of the motor. Alright. That little turd's on there. Up our oil here. Alright, spacer is on. I can finish up bolting the rest of this on there and work on getting the gaskets off for all that. But yeah, that's the little tricky things I wanted to do. The rest of it's just bolting stuff on. Go out some more. Well guys, I'm sorry I didn't film a lot of the flying in and all that kind of stuff, showing some of the more detailed stuff. I wasn't expecting everybody to come down and help me stab this motor in. I thought it was just going to be me and one other guy, but yeah, that was a really nice blessing. Anyways, it went in no problem. A couple of things: if you do have a 500C that has a torque converter, you do have to mount the torque converter to the flywheel before you mount it to the transmission. You cannot mount the torque converter to the transmission. That will not work. It won't fit through the hole through here. So wasn't expecting that, but it went pretty well. I'm not going to complain about that. So yes, I'll have to check my dates, but I think it's been exactly a year pretty much since it's been tore down. Not much has changed in the ground area, but yeah, we still got a fair amount of little stuff to do. I got to put the front clip on. It's laying over there. I'll clean all that up and I'll probably film a lot of that. And then a couple of this son of a gun was wore out. I'm talking big time wore out. So fixed a lot of stuff. Of course, y'all know the block fix that we did to it, just to catch y'all up on some stuff. So the block with the lock and stitch process is fixed on that side. Of course, I fixed the timing cover, welded that up. I didn't show this, I didn't film it, but I had to braze the exhaust manifold up where there was a giant hole in like 3 sides of the manifold. That may not work, but we're gonna try it because I looked for an exhaust manifold and couldn't find one. So yeah, next best thing. But she has come a long way, got a new water pump on there. And one of the big things that we got to fix now is the hydraulic drive. This little guy right here, I don't know if you can see these tabs. This one's broke off. This one's almost broke off. See that? And that's supposed to look like that. And this one's bent over. So the problem we have is this thing is supposed to slide up and down on this big giant hex key, more or less. And the spring that's supposed to keep this thing taut in there is broke, and this is all froze up, so I got to get this off so I can see what I need to do to fix all this. So that's probably going to be the next step after we get the hydraulic tray back in. And then you can tell I got the valve cover off. I forgot to glue the gaskets, so I'm letting it sit there for a little bit, let her get a little taut before I put her on there. And a couple other little things I missed, nothing major, but still got to do it. And I got to get the fuel line plumbed over here. I got to check this fuel and see how god awful it is. I got some broke off bolts to get out, and there, both of these I had to cut because the battery sits there and the acid over the years has eaten through the bolts and you couldn't get a wrench on them. So and then we got to start putting fluid in everything, and then we'll be able to fire this puppy. I got to get some filters, but yeah, it is coming along very nicely. I'm so happy to have that motor back in there. I think she's going to be a live one. So as long as the rest of it functions, we'll see, huh? So stay tuned. Okay, we're looking at the hydraulic pump here. This is like a big hex key drive. They had some kind of spring on here to keep a collar, if you can see where the rust is, to keep it tight, and the spring's done broke. Ain't no telling how long it's been like that. So this collar, I've cleaned it up a little bit. If you can see, these notches are wore out, or they're almost wore out. So I I initially thought they were shaped like that on purpose, but no, because I'm retarded. They're supposed to be like a big step, just the way that they're made. So this is the opposing plate, and you can see it's equally as wore out. Ignore this braze. I'll tell you what I was thinking here in a moment. So basically, they engage in between each other like so, and they drive each other. It makes it so that they can drive with a little bit of slop in there is basically what you're going for. So I can't find these parts. I've looked, I haven't looked tremendously hard, but they're not showing up anywhere. So we're gonna fix them. So initially I thought this was a piece of cast iron, and it's not. I don't think. It's not acting like cast. I brazed some of the corners up here because I thought that that was the shape that they needed to be, but turns out I was dead wrong. So anyways, we're gonna try to build these up with TIG. Actually, we're just gonna use, and these as well, we're just gonna use just regular old SR filler metal steel and see if we can build them up. And the reason I'm saying that this is not cast is when I was doing a little bit of grinding a minute ago, we're getting some not so cast sparks. Okay. So this must be a piece of cast steel, because this is cast iron. This is what normally it looks like. That's normal. So we're getting a few explosions on the sparks, but it's not so much, this has got to be steel. So we're going to try to TIG it up. If it don't work, it don't work, but we'll see. You only learn by failing, right? So let's hit it. Cheers. Let's get going. We'll see how this stuff acts. I'm hoping really good. Definitely behaving like steel, so I think we're going to be okay. This could be a forging, now that I think about it. That's a hell of a forging, though. That would be very, very difficult to replicate over and over again. Having these numbers in here, it's got to be a casting. Or pinging or nothing like that, so I think we're going to be okay. I'm going to build it up enough so I can grind everything back down smooth, and this thing should be able to go another hour meter says on the dozer it's got 3,500 hours on it, so it should be able to do that again. Good. 1 down, 3 to go. Well, 1 down, 7 to go, really. So this one's got some braze on it, but shouldn't be any problem. find out. That's stand corrected. Burn it out. Ah, you bastard. Go away. Braze will do that sometimes. Just kind of explode. Yeah, I'm going to grind that out. I may have some trouble on this one where I did a bunch of it. You gotta be careful with this stuff. Probably gonna blow up on me again, but that's part of it. A lot of times it'll contaminate your tungsten, your rod, everything, but we're gonna keep on keeping on. This is not a critical part. Still hear it. Tried it. Take a look at that. Put a little braze in the way you'll do. We're definitely gonna have to grind this one a lot, so I'm just gonna plan on doing it. Son of a bitch. There we go. There you go. That's how you build one of them up. I'll grind it back down smooth and she ought to be ready to do it all over again. Well, I got the hydraulic tray put back in, and this is what I wanted to show y'all. Sorry I didn't film none of that. I had help down here and we got to talking and I didn't film. So anyways, this spring right here is not the factory spring. I could not find one. So what I did was I did some measuring, I did some figuring and stuff like that, and what I needed, the old spring made contact here and here. Okay, I tried to find roughly the same dimension of spring and I couldn't do it. So I had to settle for a spring that fitted here and here. It's doing the same thing but in a different place. So for the hydraulic drive. The other thing is too, the old spring, I'm guessing was probably maybe 20 pounds of force, something like that. This one is 82, which I'm hoping that's not going to hurt anything. I don't see how it could, you know, hurt the crankshaft or anything like that. I don't see that hurting anything. But it's stronger than the original one. I don't know if that's going to be a bad thing or a good thing or not even worry about anything. But yes, just letting you know. If you want to know where I got this spring, I'll put a link down in the description. It came from McMaster-Carr. One of my favorite sites to find stuff that's really, really weird that you need sometimes. So can't always get proper parts for what you need. So right now I'm fooling around with the hydraulic system here. I'm tightening up this line and having all kinds of fun. This is one reason I don't show. I showed taking all the engine apart, but I didn't show a lot of it putting it back together. And I'm sorry guys, but really and truly, basically what I do is I cuss and yell at stuff and forget how things went. And one, that's not very professional, and two, that don't help you in putting it all back together. Hopefully this will kind of show you, yeah, this is the right way to do it after I screwed up 15 times. But yeah, you'll get to see what it actually looks like to be a mechanic here in just a second. So yeah, so basically get down in a hole and you just spend more time than you think you should tightening up stuff. Thank God for line wrenches. This would be a chore without them. As you can see, not very entertaining. You know, that's one thing about YouTube, is I watch a lot of YouTube just from the sheer entertainment portion. How people react to things, how people look at things, you know. There's not a lot of YouTube videos out there that show God honest work, you know. I used to love to watch the Red Green Show, the guy from Canada. I'm going to quote one of the things that he said one time. This here is called a water manifold. This here is called a wrench. What I'm doing is called work. So, yeah. We don't have any of that kind of stuff anymore where people really... I mean, there's a few good channels out there that actually are honest to God, showing you how to work on stuff or how to fix stuff. But so many people cut a lot of editing out and they don't show the nitty-gritty of it, which I can't say anything because I'm the same way. But they don't show the cussing and putting stuff on backwards and all that kind of stuff, getting the wrenches hung up and whatnot. So that's tight. But yeah, I mean, it just the way it goes. So we'll put this back in there where it's supposed to go. Then I'll put the big one on there and we may get some good footage out of this. So the next hose I've got to put on is the intake hose for this hydraulic pump. So this big guy right here. And this thing has got a 90-degree spin on it that connects to the hydraulic pump, which is down there. So it more or less fits through the frame rail here and goes into this guy right here. So be sure you don't forget any clamps. Put my grease back up here where it belongs. Make sure everything's nice and clean. You don't have dirt everywhere. That is a somewhat of a factor. So we're doing what we can here. The other problem I have with filming like stuff like this is you can't never get a good angle. It's always, because I got to get into the spot where it's got to go, and I'm constantly looking over my shoulder to make sure I'm not in the line of sight of the image, and a lot of times I am, because I'm trying to give you all the best vantage point, and I wound up screwing up most of the shot because my big giant head was in the way, or you know, something like that. So it is a little bit of a pain in the butt. The other problem you run into is, oh, I put it on backwards. Just everything that I just did, don't do what I did, you know. That's or put something on before in the wrong order or something like that. So yeah, things happen. Or you hear me cuss every other second because something's being an engineer's dream, and everything's just going totally pear-shaped, if you know what I mean. So this hose gave me trouble last time, and for whatever reason it didn't give me trouble this time. It must be scared of the camera. That thing went right on there. That's kind of amazing. So yeah, well, let me not run out of commentary here. Use a nut driver here to snug these hose clamps up. I didn't used to use them years ago because, you know, just use a flathead screwdriver and stab yourself about 500 times. I don't know, it seemed like I had a good friend of mine tell me about them one day, and then I started using them, and I'm like, you know what, he's right, you know. So they definitely help on hose clamps, definitely. Oh, and I'm getting a call. Alright, let's finish tightening this son gun back up. So I got my intake line back on. Tighten every living Jesus side of this thing. Oh, feels pretty good. Tell you what, I like how big that intake line is. It means that she got a pretty good high volume pump on her. If that's the case, the controls, which wore out just like the rest of the machine, should be pretty responsive because you got big lines do things. We tighten this pressure line up. Well, alright now, what's your problem? What's your malfunction here? Yep. I was going to tell y'all too, I know there's a lot of mechanics and whatnot that watch my channel. If you need some good quality wrenches that are pretty reasonable, this company right here, you know, of course everybody's Snap-on and Mac and all that kind of crap, but you know, Craftsman, you can still get them, but they're not the quality they used to be. These here are Tecton. I have a good friend of mine that recommended them to me, and they're made in the US, if you can read that, and they're real reasonable. And the cool thing about them, like these Tecton wrenches, of course this is a line wrench, it's got the 30 or the 60-30 heads on them like the Snap-ons do, so them things are kick-ass. So yeah, great wrench, great company. So if you need a set of wrenches and you don't want, you know, cheap wrenches, you want a good wrench for the, like I said, the price is real reasonable for wrenches, even with inflation and everything like that. Buy you a set of Tecton. They make good sockets too, but I love them line wrenches. I use them quite a bit. Oh, that might be tight enough. My back popped. Alright, pump is done. Don't forget to put your fan belt back on. I decided to use the old one. It didn't look too bad. I probably regret that because this just looks like a bear to get all this back on there. if I have to replace that belt, which I probably will, but that's the way it goes. Guys, we're getting close. All I got to do now is I will mount I think the radiator has to be mounted inside the shroud, if memory serves me right. So we may have to put the shroud on next, and then the radiator, and then the transcooler. But we don't have to put the hood on and all that kind of crap. But fill up the fluids. I got to put, it's got engine oil. I need to top it off. I think it's not quite full. Of course, it ain't been fired either. Oh, she ain't touching on the stick. I thought I had enough in there, but apparently I don't. Alright, so we got to put engine oil in it. We got to put hydraulic oil in for the transmission and hydraulic oil for the reservoir tank because they're separate. And then that's it. We'll crank it with no water in it and get the fuel plumbed to it and all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, she ought to be able to rip. So, and then once I know it runs and everything, you know, if the blades come up and down, I don't care if I got a million leaks, but well, I do care about that. But as long as it ain't terrible, we'll go with it and see if it'll go forward and backwards, and we'll put water in the son of a gun and go from there. Good in there, definitely.
Spinning over better.
Yeah, that battery must have been bad.
Must have been. I put it in the back of the mule in case I got stranded somewhere back in the deer season.
I got you.
I ain't changed it since, but that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't charged it since. It's in time, it ought to fire up.
Yep.
I didn't listen to that little one. Maybe I ought to.
Well, Lee told me that I may have the injection lines wrong.
Why?
Because he said he looked at the pump and it didn't look right to him.
Okay. Well, you may have them wrong.
We'll find out.
It's on idle, I think.
Yeah, it is on idle. He's trying.
Yeah.
Surely it's in time, isn't it? If it ran, if it
line's leaking.
is it leaking?
Yeah, it's coming out in pressure.
Mm.
Squirting out of there.
Yeah, I seen that. Damn, it might need a new.
Might need something.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Don't want to run with it on full. It's still squirting out of there.
We're losing. Was that copper?
Copper washer.
Ain't no good. I thought that one was brand new.
We'll see if it'll run with that leak.
Sure, it's probably gonna bleed down.
Open the throttle up.
Alright.
Open it up.
You must have it on kill. You must have it on kill.
Huh. 70 pounds?
70 pounds oil pressure.
Huh.
Hell yeah. Sounds like it's got a knock, doesn't it?
I think it's a timing knock.
Timing knock?
Yeah. We might have to slide the pump a little bit.
Okay. Damn, that kind of scared me.
It ain't knocking. I'm blaming just a feel knock.
Just feel knock. Alright. Shit, yeah. That was good.
Didn't have a chance to try the blade or nothing.
No.
Transmission.
Mm-mm.
Check the transmission fluid now.
Check the transmission.
Got a leak back here?
Yeah, some oil came from somewhere I don't understand. Ugh.
Where'd it come from?
I don't know, there's a pool of it right here. See it? Just
It's probably leaking off that line going to the gauge.
oh, it could have been. That's oil. Yeah, I bet it ain't tight.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Well, it definitely got oil pressure.
Already knew that, looking at the gauge.
Yeah, but it was leaking. Well, she do run. The little knocking that you heard was actually from the return line leaking fuel, shooting all over the block here. We replaced the little copper, little banjo bolt seals on there, and that fixed that issue. My camera died when we got another shot of it running, but since I don't have any water in it, and a couple other things, I decided to stop it right here for today. So, yeah, I did get the blade to come up and down, but we got an issue with it doesn't want to move. We tried it real quick, and I don't know, the shuttle shift, this lever right here, this guy, it feels like nothing's engaging in there. So we had this was stuck earlier, and I'm scared me screwing around with it and messing with it, I may have sheared something in there, so I have to take a look at that another time. But motor part is doing well. 70 pounds of oil pressure, y'all saw that. And yeah, she's gonna be a runner. This is gonna be awesome. So I'm excited. Look forward to part 4, I reckon.